demonstration, I'll be showing you how to make the angle spacer in Chapter 1. While we're making this angle spacer, we'll be talking about the things that are listed up here in the top left side of your screen. So, first of all, let's establish our units. If we take a look at the book, it says all dimensions are in inches. So we'll left click on Format, left click again on Units. We'll stay with decimal. We'll keep it at this precision, 2 digits to the right of the decimal, and in inches. Select OK. Alright, now we've established our units and our precision. Let's talk about our drawing limits. Left click on Format, left click again on Drawing Limits, and we'll hit 0, 0, and enter. 11, 8.5, enter. Now we don't know what we really dished yet. We can't really see it. Now drawing limits are basically determined on what size of paper you plan to print on. So we'll select a rectangle, left click on rectangle, and we'll repeat the same coordinates, 0, 0, enter, and then 11, 8.5, enter. Okay, now that we can see, we have a rectangle. This rectangle is the drawing area where we'll be creating our angle spacer. So, zoom extents, as listed over there on our list, is basically our drawing area. Let's say we've lost control of it. It's gone off the screen. It's disappeared. How do we get it back? Okay, if we hover over here, it shows the zoom extents. I can left click on this, and it brings us right back. Now let's say for whatever reason it's disappeared, and it's gone, and there's another way. Control Z gets us part of the way. Control Z again gets us right to where we need it. Okay. Now I have a middle mouse button that's a round wheel, and it's if I go back and forth on it, I can zoom in and out. But now let's just say I don't have a middle mouse button. I can go to View, I can go to Zoom, and in, View, Zoom again, and out, to be able to do the same thing that my middle rolling button will do for me. Okay, so at this point, I'm going to hit Control Z, and we'll talk about the other things. Hit Control Z again. Sometimes it doesn't work. Sometimes it's not always cooperative. You try another way of doing it. It sometimes will fix it. Not all drafting softwares are perfect. Okay, so now we've talked about the zoom extents. Let's talk about panning. If I hold that middle mouse button down and left click on this, it'll allow me to pan. Okay, I can move this left or right. That's called panning, up and down. Okay, if I go over here and I click on this command here, it'll allow me to use my left mouse button if I don't have a middle mouse button to do the same thing. Okay, so right click, exit gets us out of that command. Alright, so we've talked about our zoom extents and we've talked about our pan. Now let's talk about our grid display. Our grid display, we can turn it on and off. I'm going to come down here and hover above the actual button there. It says grid display. We can turn it on or off with the F7 button on the keyboard. Okay, or we can left click on that to turn it on off also. But at this point we want to adjust our settings. So I'm going to right click, go to settings, and over here on the right hand side of this panel it talks about what we're doing with our grid. Now our major line, if we take a glance over here, we can't see it too well. It all kind of blends in. But our major line is our darker line. Okay, and I'll show you when I get done setting us up here at 1/4 inch X and Y spacing, and click OK. Now our major, maybe we can see it a little bit better. Our major are the darker lines. Okay, my minor are every other line that's in between them. So at this point I have 1/4 inch squares in between 1 inch bigger squares. So let's test this out. Let's take a look. So I'm going to left click on this. And right now my snaps are not on. So I'm only taking a quick guess. So I'm going to left click here. I'm going to go right about here. And this gives us about a 1/4 inch, a 1/2 inch, and 3/4, and then 1 inch. Okay, so it'd be really nice if I could just like snap right to it. So there's a way to do that. So let's hit the escape key, and we'll talk about our snaps now. Our snaps, we can turn this on by selecting the F9 key, or we can left click with the mouse. Okay, the things that are blue here are the things that are on. Things that are gray are the things that are off. So I can turn it on and off with the mouse button. So let's right click on it though, and left click on settings, and it takes us back where we were. The the grid button and the snap mode button, if we right click, take it to settings, will end us up in the same place. Now at this point, this is selected. The snap on is selected, which tells us that our snap will be on, and that the lines will snap every 1/2 inch. But let's say I want to snap every 1/4 inch, so 0.25, and hit tab. The Y spacing adjusted accordingly to keep it nice and square. So let's click OK. Now as you can see, I've got darker lines that are every 4 squares. But if I bring my mouse in, bring a line here, now it is, I'm not really clicking on anything at this point. I'm just dragging my line over, and it's automatically locking in on every 1/4 inch, and that's my snaps. That comes in really handy if I need to create things that are uniform distance from one another. Let's say a 1/4 inch spacing between each thing. Unfortunately, I find it very annoying at times. So let's turn it off and let's begin our actual project. Alright, so I'm going to hit escape. I'm going to turn our snap off, and I'm actually going to turn the grid off. I have no real use for it at this point. Now the grid does come in handy. The snaps come in handy, but not all the time. For now, I'd like to keep a nice white area so that you can see clearly what I'm doing. Alright, so I'm going to bring in a line command, left click, and I'm going to come in here somewhere. I'm going to take a close look at my project, and I'm going to estimate, let's see, I've got 2 inches tall by 3 inches wide. Well, my sheet of paper here is 11 inches wide and 8.5 inches tall. You know, I'm going to start right here. Okay, now I don't really have any good way to keep this from being not straight. Okay, I need this to be perfectly horizontal. Well, there's a couple different ways, but I'd say the most useful tool to use in this case would be the ortho mode. You can turn that on and off by using the F8 key if you want, or you can left click on it. Okay, now at this point, I'm moving my mouse up and down, but my line is staying perfectly horizontal. Okay, I need this line to be 3 inches. So 3, and then enter. Now I need to go up 1.5 inches. 1.5. Enter. Now I'm running into an angle that doesn't tell me what kind of angle to put it at. And if you know your relative coordinate system pretty good, you can kind of figure this out. But there's another way around it. So I'm still in my line command, and I'm using my roll button to zoom in here. I'm just going to drop this, left click at a random length. Okay, hit escape, pulls me out of that. Now I know that this is 1.5 inches, and I need to go up another 1/2 inch. So I'm going to right click, repeat my line. Okay, and I'm going to go up another 1/2 inch, 0.5, and then I'm going to go to the left, 0.75. And hit escape, take me out of that so I can talk to you for a second. Okay, now at this point, I can connect those 2 points. Hit escape, and then left click on what I want to get rid of, and hit delete. Okay, now I was able to create that angled line without actually knowing what the angle is. Alright, so let's finish. Okay, it says repeat erase. I have right clicked and I've come up with repeat erase because that was the last command I had. If I go down here to recent input, it'll give me a list of things that I've recently clicked on. So I want the line. Left click, and let's finish this up as far as we can. So that's 1, and then hit enter and escape. Right, I have no idea. Over here on the top left of my design, no idea what that angle is. So I'm going to stop there, and I'm going to start working on things I do know. So I'm going to left click on this line, and I'm going to go straight up 1/4 inch, 0.25. Enter. I'm going to go to the right at 0.75. Enter. And then back up 0.5. Okay, now I'm going to go straight over to the left. Now I could key in 0.75 because I know the answer there. It's 0.75, sure. But if I go down here and I tease this corner a little bit, you see that green line pop up? That green line gives me an idea of where I need to be snapping to. So I'm going to click right there and then hit escape. So let's check it out. So left click on my line. I come down here and I go straight up. Look at there. It went straight to it. So I didn't have to key in 0.75. So alright, let's delete that. And then let's finish it off. So I right click and repeat my line. Alright, straight up and 0.5. That should be it. Now I can finish this off and hit escape. Alright, so it looks pretty close, but let's measure it. Now dimensions we'll get into later. That's over here in the annotation. But let's talk about our dimensions. So we can measure things here. We can measure our dimensions without leaving behind a dimension line. So I'm going to select distance with the left mouse button, and I'm just going to double check things. So I need this to be 1.5. If I left click on that, then it tells me my distance here, 1.5. Alright, I can left click on accent, right click again, measure geometry, select distance, and I can actually, I don't even really have to click anything. As soon as I snap to it, it's telling me that I've got 3 inches here. Alright, I hit escape, right click, measure geometry, distance. So from here to here, I've got 1.25. That looks good. Okay, so we've got some basic things measured out. Things are turning out nice. I go from here to here, 1 inch, and then if I tease this corner here, it gives us 1.75. So that's looking pretty good. Okay, so now we're ready to bring in that circle. Okay, now if you know your coordinate system pretty good, and you've done the worksheets, and maybe you've already done chapter 1, and you kind of have a good understanding of that system, you can bring in your circle and place it that way. Or you can place it this way. Now the circle that they're showing there has the diameter symbol next to it. But we're going to go up here, and we're going to select center diameter. Left click. Alright, I'm just going to randomly put it here. Okay, I have no idea where that's at this point. Okay, but it got me pretty close. Now let's say I wanted to use a coordinate system to adjust that. So I could right click and I can go to properties. And I could key in my X and Y right here. Okay, let's say I want to make this 5 and I make that a 4 and hit tab. Okay, and then we can close that. Okay, hit escape. Well, now this is a little bit cumbersome. Okay, if you've gotten pretty good at it, that might be your way of doing it. But a common practice is to bring in a line, and I can see that I need to go up 1, enter, and over 1, enter. Okay, and hit escape. Then I can bring in my circle, snap to the end of that line, and then make it a diameter of 1. Okay, and then I come back over here and delete my lines. That's a little bit quicker way. Everybody has their own way, but as long as we come to the same end result, in most cases, there's no problem with that. So that wraps up our angle spacer project. All right, enjoy, and we'll move on.